joining. I'm so happy to see all you guys' faces. I miss everybody. So welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and start. I have some more people joining, and you guys can join and have paper and pencil or pen handy. And we're going to start right away with a little meditation here in just a second. And again, you guys are on mute to reduce background noise. I'll unmute it for some questions and comments at certain periods of the call. But you can use the chat bar on the side as well if you guys want to share any thoughts or write any questions or anything. And then we'll also, as we go through, if Spirit has anything to share for any of us or any of you individually, I'll be throwing that out there as well. So welcome. So I'm going to get started. And like I said, we've got some more people joining here, but welcome you guys. It's our 11:11 call. It's finally here and I'm so excited, and I'm excited to see all of your faces here with me. Today is a really special day. First off, it's an 11:11 day. So it's a master number day for those of you who follow numerology and astrology. But it's also known today as the crystalline Samhain. And so Samhain is an ancient holiday that's usually around Halloween. And Halloween time is a lot of people who are born from moon energy. So our witches and our magicians and our warlocks, like they all come from this really beautiful moon energy with a strong connection to the moon. And the crystalline energy of today can go kind of either way between the deep ancient energies of the earth shamans and also star seeds and beings that come from the Pleiades, from other planets, and from the Arcturians, which is also another group of energy. If you're interested, you can Google Arcturians. They're like an alien being. So to get kind of out there in the woo-woo land, that's who they are. And so why we're here today. So about a month ago, these ancient beings started coming forward to me. And they're a much older energy than what I've worked with in the past. I work with a lot of Native American energy, a lot of Aboriginal shaman energy. These beings were different, and they started appearing into my space. Like I said, about a month ago, they started showing up, and they said they had all of this ancient energy. And at the same time that they were showing up, I was also working on my 2020 message. You know, what is our focus for 2020? And where are we headed as we move into this different energy? I do this every year, but what's happened and what's different is I received some really potent information about healing and stepping into our soul purpose for 2020. And so the purpose of this call today is to place us in an alignment as a community to be able to move towards living our authentic self and being in our soul purpose energy for all of 2020 and really beyond. This is the start of something that's going for years and years and years. So I'm really happy to have all of you on, because if you're here and you're listening and you're part of this call, you're part of this community and part of this shift as we move forward. And so what we're going to do today is a series of activities, but I'm also going to give you information today so that you can kind of wrap your mind around where you're headed as a soul energy. So we're going to begin first by bringing these beings in and by getting connected to our own inner self, our place of truth inside our heart center. So I want you to plant both feet onto the floor, and I want you to close down your eyes. I'd also like you to place the palms of your hands, palms down on your thighs or knees or lap, whatever's comfortable for you. And I want you to remember this as a mudra, truly a mudra, as we go into 2020. Today is New Year's Day for us. Palms down. Palms down for 2020, because we are crystalline beings of light. Every single one of us on this call, every single one of us connecting with this community, we are beings of light. But we are beings of light here on the earth, on planet Earth. And so we put our palms down to connect to the earth and to stay grounded in our space. Palms up, we tend to float away. And I want us to take 3 deep breaths together. I want you to inhale through your nose using your natural filtration system and exhale out through the mouth. Breathe in together through the nose and out through the mouth. One more time, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with as little disturbance to your energy as possible, get your paper and your pen, have it nearby. If you have to open your eyes, that's okay, just with as little disturbance. And I want you to place your hand on your heart center. Left or right hand doesn't matter, but place it on your heart center. Take a deep breath in and imagine all of your present awareness going directly into your heart center, to your place of knowing, to your place of truth with a capital T. And the first question that I want you to ask yourself is, what is my soul purpose? As you know it today, what is your soul purpose? And write down the very first things that come to mind, whether it's words or thoughts or symbols or an idea or a feeling, but write down what comes to mind for you. What is your soul purpose today? And I'll give you a minute to do that. If you want to put yourself out there, you're welcome to share in the chat bar what's coming up. Beautiful, you guys. Some of these shares are just lovely. Sharing light, healing. Now I want you to take a deep breath in, and I want you to place one hand on your heart still and take your other hand and place it on your solar plexus directly above your belly button. So your heart carries your inherent truth, your knowing, and then your solar plexus is your manifestation out into the world. And I want you to ask yourself this question: what is blocking me from manifesting my truth into the world? What is blocking me from manifesting my truth out into the world? And write down what comes to mind for you. Again, thoughts, feelings, finances, that's a good one. That's a good one. Give you another minute. Now I want you to close down your eyes and I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to get grounded in your physical body. I just want you to feel your physical body and say, hello, hello, body. Let your body say hello back. Notice the energy in your feet and your hands and your core and your head, your brain, your mind, your neurological space, and just check in with your body. You can wrap your arms around your body if you want to, and I want you to ask yourself, does my health hold me back from living my truth? Does my health hold me back from living my truth? And I will say that health is not just physical, you know, that can be your emotional health, it can be your anxieties, it could be, you know, things that are physically going on, but just ask yourself that question and see what comes up for you. Take another minute to write down your thoughts, and then take a deep breath in and close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart center. Think about your soul purpose. Think about what came up for you. And ask yourself, do I believe I can do it? And write what comes to mind. Do I believe that I can do it? And if you don't believe it, or you're questioning it, write down any key negative self-talk. You know, mine is, what if I fail? It's always up for me, you know? What's the negative self-talk what's the, I believe I can do it, but what's really holding you back? Just write that down, write down your thoughts. And take another deep breath in. You're welcome to open your eyes. We're going to talk a little bit about this. So what we just went through is a process called Svadhyaya. I'll put it here in our comment box. Svadhyaya is the process of self-inquiry, and it's talked about in the Vedic scriptures, in the practice of yoga and the Yoga Sutras. And Svadhyaya is something that I am passionate about, and many of you know from me and my book and my practice and years of being around me, it's all about self-inquiry. It's all about asking questions to dig up what's coming up inside. And it's an ancient practice. Oh, that's beautiful, Pamela. Expansion of our practice with more light workers. Yes, there cannot be enough light workers. It's beautiful. And so when we do a self-inquiry practice, it's really the start of something. And so one of the things I wanted to teach you this morning is how to practice Svadhyaya, how to practice self-inquiry, so that you have this tool, because we're going to be using it from here on. From here on out, you're going to see self-inquiry popping up in posts, you're going to see self-inquiry in newsletters, and you're going to hear it from me on these calls that we're going to be having. And so Svadhyaya is truly a 30-day process. We just asked ourselves some tough questions, and some things rose to the surface and we wrote them down. So step one is writing down our questions, writing down our thoughts about a particular subject, which today is about our soul purpose and about kind of breaking through old patterns. But then it's going to keep coming up. So the process of self-inquiry is not just an assignment of, okay, I've written in my journal for like 20 minutes and I'm good. You're going to be talking to a friend. You're going to come in for a reading. You're going to be doing the dishes, and you're going to be like, oh, you know what? This is blocking me, or this keeps coming up, or gosh, you know what? I wrote down, you know, about failing, but really it's about being successful that I'm afraid of. Whatever it is, things are going to come up and come around and shift and focus. And it takes about 30 days typically to come to some kind of conclusion about what it is that you're writing about. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. You're going to come to this conclusion place. And I also want you guys to be aware, I love getting email updates. And I say email because my process is I do a lot of automatic writing, and when I'm connected, it's on my computer. So if you text me, it's kind of goes in and out. But if you send me an email, so as you're doing this self-inquiry, next week when you're doing the dishes and you're like, oh my God, I just realized this and this and this about my soul purpose, shoot me an email. I want to hear about it. And I also may have some additional self-inquiry questions you can ask yourself. So I'm here as your coach and your support system, and I want you guys to use that. So definitely share with me as time goes on. So as we're talking about our soul purpose, and we're going to get into the guts of this here in a minute, but what you wrote down today is the start of your new year and your new journey for 2020, for ascension, and for moving into a fifth dimensional reality. This is your starting point. And that starting point is going to change and evolve and transform and grow over time. And it's going to be amazing. So this is your starting point. So keep this starting point, but also continue to write and add on and journal from here on out, because you're going to be getting more and more information as you practice self-inquiry. And so here's what I want to talk about, the 2020 message. And we're going to be doing another exercise here in a minute, but how do we find our soul purpose, and what does this have to do with genetics, and what does this have to do with 2020? So I just want to pull up this document and kind of share with you some information. So first and foremost, our physical bodies are the vehicle for our souls to come to Earth, which makes sense, right? Like, in order for us to be here, we've got to be in a body. But our soul has a completely different experience and a multidimensional reality that's different from our physical reality. So I want to explain that briefly, because I'm a medium, and most of you on here have the ability to be a medium if you are in fact not doing that now. And so part of being a medium is really, I'm just seeing those spirits in their multidimensional reality. That's really all it is. My left brain says, that's not right or logical or make any sense. But my right brain says, this is interesting. There's energy here. There's people here. There's stuff going on. I want to learn about these people. And so our right and our left brain kind of get caught up. And so those of us that are, all of you that are even on this call right now, we are much more in our right brain because we're much more open to what's happening. But we have to kind of explain to our left brain what's happening. And what we're telling the left brain is, our soul may inhabit this body and experience a three-dimensional reality, but ultimately our soul, when it's not in the body, is experiencing a 13 plus dimensional reality. And we're just connecting with that soul outside of its 3D. That's really all that's happening. And so we've chosen, our souls have chosen to experience a world in 3D, but we have also chosen to come at a time where we are shifting into 4 and 5D dimensional reality, meaning there's no time or space, and the manifestation energy is moving in instantaneous speeds. You think of something and it's coming true. The synchronicities are happening faster. Everything is speeding up. And so we've come here because we said, I want to be on Earth at a time where I'm shifting into multidimensional reality, because I want to be a part of that. But guess what? We came in a physical body that has a left brain that doesn't know what to do with that information, and that has genetic DNA, our DNA, our helixes. You know, we have this DNA that has inherited these structures that we don't know what to do with. And so I'm going to give you an example. Many of you here have had health issues. Some kind of health issue has gone on with almost every single person I know. You know, all of you guys, and almost all of us have had something crazy that's gone on at least once or twice, or is happening now. And what's happened is we've taken on and inherited these genetic structures, and our soul energy doesn't understand these genetic structures. And so we're having this fight, and the fight is causing pain. The fight is causing neurological symptoms. The fight is causing us to gain weight and to carry weight and baggage. The fight is causing us to have these issues based on what we've inherited in the biological structure that has nothing to do with the energy. And so part of our work and part of our focus for 2020 is we can break free of those inherited structures in order to live our soul purpose, to break out of the reality that our ancestors have had generation after generation after generation. And I want to give you guys another example, and I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you right now, but Candida. A lot of us have Candida yeast issues, right? Candida overgrowth. Candida is a direct, in the metaphysical realm, Candida is a direct representation of fear. Fear has been embedded in our system for years and years and years and years, because as healers, we were murdered for speaking our truth. We were hung, we were burned at the stake, we were you know, all sorts of terrible things happened to people that were persecuted, that were these incredible healers on the earth, especially as women. Women have been repressed for years as healers, and men are dominating the health industry. So our candida is really that yeast overgrowth, that swelling, the weight gain, the symptoms we get in our ears, hearing, in our throats, right? Candida, a lot of people have issues with their throat, their esophagus, their stomach, their gut, their microbiome. All of that is because our genetics are still hiding under a bed, praying that they're not going to be drug away and burned at the stake. It's pretty intense stuff. So you've inherited these structures, and now it's time for us to break through them. And part of doing that comes with honoring those structures, and that talks about, you know, honoring our ancestors. You chose also as a soul not just to come into a body, but you said, I want to be in this family. I want to be in this lineage. I want to be part of this ancestry for a reason. Most of us are part of our ancestry to break out of those patterns. Most of us, I'm going to tell you guys on this call, are probably the maverick of the family. How many of you guys are mavericks of your family, where you believe things no one else believes? You're doing something nobody else did. They're like, you're the crazy one. Yes, I see hands. Yes, how many hands can I see? All of us. Yes, Pam. Yes, yes, Janae. Like, we are those weirdos. We're the weirdos because we came in to say it's okay to be yourself, and we don't have to run in fear anymore. And so from a physical standpoint, what these ancient beings have told me is our genetics, those strands of genetics, and many of you guys probably already know this or have been led to this in some way or another, but they're coded. There's a coding on these strands, and not everywhere. And we'll do some work as the year goes on with like looking at our coding, but our genetic DNA is actually coded with our karma from these past lifetimes. So we're talking your past lifetimes as a soul on the earth and your ancestry. Okay, so you have these inherited patterns from your ancestors, you have karma from your past lives, and they're coding these genetic strands. And so what we're doing is a literal breaking the coding out, clearing it away so that our genetic strands are clear. What happens when they're clear? Our symptoms go away. We live a purer, if I can say that, lifestyle. We clean up our acts, right? And in cleaning up our acts, we raise our physical vibration so that it starts to match our spiritual or our soul vibration. And suddenly we are manifesting a different reality, and we're living our truth as a light worker and a spiritual being and a healer on the earth. It's really pretty darn powerful. So with that said, the next activity I want you to do, and this is a little bit of a homework assignment, but I want us to kind of, you know, throw some things out there while we're still talking about our soul purpose. So in yoga, in the Yoga Sutras, they talk about Dharma. You're born with Dharma. And it's so cool, you guys, this all works together. You can go get your genome analysis and find out your genetic structure in your physical body. Then you can go get a Vedic astrology chart and find out what your Dharma is, right? You can come see me and get a soul purpose reading, and we'll talk about what your purpose is. And all of it's the same. All of it works together. And it tells you, this is what I need to overcome in order to be clean and purified, in order to do this work that I'm here to do. And so one of the questions is, well, what the heck is my Dharma? Like, how do I find that? And so one of the activities you can do, and you guys can throw stuff out here in the chat bar, but think of the time in your life when time just flew. Time flew by. Day and night, you worked all day and all night, and you didn't even know that it was time to eat. Like, things just flew by. That is your Dharma. So was it creating something? Was it being out in nature? Like, what is it that time just flew by, and before you knew it, the day was over? That is a representation of your Dharma. And there may be different things. So there may be different life experiences that you've had. Like, I was a cheerleader in high school. I loved doing it. I did it for hours and hours and hours, but I also, loved teaching classes. I loved doing calls like this. So it's different things, but what's the theme in all of that? Is the theme teaching? Is the theme motivating? Is the theme enthusiastic? So I want you to think about these different times. And again, feel free to throw stuff out in the chat bar if things come up, but it's part of your homework assignment too, is to start to identify, where in my life was I experiencing Dharma? Janet says, connecting with people, seeing who they are. Yes, of course, Janet, I love it. So yeah, like the more that you can think about these times, some people, I have a good friend who, her Dharma, like when she's doing accounting, believe it or not, it's like she's just lost. Like she loves numbers. She loves to help people in that way. So everybody's Dharma looks differently. But when you think about like, what are these bigger themes? Is it speaking? Is it teaching? Is it healing? Is it motivating, inspiring? So share any of those big picture thoughts. Oops, my thing spelled wrong because I was typing too fast. So our DNA carries the answers. So part of our 2020 focus is going to be connecting with our DNA. All of my yoga classes, all of the meditations, the sound experiences in these phone classes are going to be focused on connecting with our DNA and understanding these inherited structures. One of the things that the ancient beings said is, it is time to take responsibility for your own growth. Many of you, all of you that are on this call are healers, and you are at a point where healers must heal themselves, right? The healer must heal thyself, or whatever that saying is. Like, you have to heal yourself. And a lot of us are like, oh God, I don't know if I can do another healing, right? Like, I know there's some of you guys on this call that probably feel that way. You're like, oh my gosh, like I am so exhausted of trying to heal. And we're still going to be healing. It's still healing, but it's pointing us back to our own healing. So it's starting to point your clients and your patients and your friends and your family back to their own healing. It goes back to svadhyaya and self-inquiry. Where do they need to heal? And how can you support your clients and patients and family and loved ones in healing? You support them by pointing them back to themselves, because they are the only one who has the soul with the inherited structure that they're going to be able to live out their soul purpose. And so it becomes our mission and our goal to lead by example, by healing ourselves, but also by continuing to point people to this big fact, which is you carry your own information. You have your own divine wisdom inside yourself, and you have the answers, and they're locked inside your DNA. Now, one thing I want to talk about is cellular memory. That's part of our focus this year as well, as cellular memory. Cellular memory goes back to soul retrieval. And a lot of you, some of you guys here have done it, and some of you guys lead it, but soul retrieval is a process of retrieving fragments. And so parts of our DNA structures get fragmented off because of past traumas. And I have found in my own practice that when I started doing that, it was a lot of past life, but what I'm seeing is it's a lot of present life trauma. We truly are fragmented so much from this lifetime, let alone other lifetimes. And so part of the focus for 2020 is to start to retrieve your soul fragments, starting to bring your cellular memory to opening up that memory, managing through the grief of the memory, and then bringing in those fragments and bringing yourself back to wholeness. Another thing I want to talk about here is our nervous system is our pathway to awareness. So our nervous system and our endocrine system are going to experience a lot of shifts. So one thing I want you guys to be ready for from now through 2020 is that you're going to experience a lot of changes within your nervous system and within your structure. And so it's really important, again, palms down, stay grounded. Don't panic if you start to get shaky, if you start to feel anxious, if you're having some of those symptoms. Those are all ascension symptoms because you're ascending and you're moving forward. We are moving into a fourth dimensional reality, whether we like it or not. And there's a lot of people leaving because they don't want to participate. So we are all going to experience loss between now and the end of 2020, and really even into 2021. And as that happens, I think it'll make sense to all of you guys on this call who is choosing to leave, but they don't want to operate past that three-dimensional reality. So they're kind of checking out and saying it's time to go away. It's time to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. The rest of us that are here have to shift. Like, the time is now. And this goes back to the message being today. Like, these beings were like, we don't want to wait another minute. Like, we have to tell people, you've got to get yourself where you need to be now. So I want to go back. We talked about these inherited structures. We talked about our lineage. And this is all going to go hand in hand with our karma and our fragmented souls. So our focus for 2020, okay, you guys, this is it. And you're going to get in the newsletter document this afternoon, this in writing, and you'll see it all over the place here soon. But this upcoming year is about genetic consciousness, both communicating with it and facilitating the healing of it. Our soul work, and many of you on this call are healers and teachers of your own practice. Our work this year is to be the bridge. We are the bridge between our physical lineage and our soul's destiny. Revealing the inherent gifts and talents of our ancestry and leveraging the suffering of our ancestors as our strength and ability to live our truth. It is time to break free from our inherited genetic structures and fully align with the purpose of our soul. Our lineage has inherited gifts and talents that we have chosen to be a part of, and it is time to unlock them. So here comes another homework assignment. Who the heck are your ancestors? For those of you in the Enlightenment Pi Living community, you know October was all focused on connecting with your ancestry. Who are your ancestors and what are their inherited gifts and talents? I want you to start researching. So I started out doing this work in 2006. Oh, I'm a 4th generation psychic medium. Well, guess what? Like, I found out, so yeah, my mom, my grandma, my great grandma, sure, they were all psychic mediums. However, on my dad's side, I've now learned my grandmother also was a medium. My great grandmother was part Blackfoot Indian and part of the healing of the tribe. My great 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 grandfather founded the first church in Salem, Massachusetts before the witch trials. That's pieces of thousands of information I've gathered about my lineage. My lineage was a group of really spiritual people who also had a lot of physical challenges. And those physical challenges came from coming in this vibration and having to make changes. I want you to research your lineage. This is part of your focus now through the new year, is who are your ancestors and what are the talents? Do you have your grandmother's gift of writing? Do you have your uncle's gift of, science? Whatever it is, like, start identifying your inherited gifts and talents through your ancestors and start honoring them. Are there pictures up in your house of your ancestors? Like, my aunt was an artist and I didn't know that, nor did I know that she painted beautiful murals, one of which is in Denver in a church. Didn't know. So as you start to discover and uncover your family and surrounding yourself with images of them, you're going to start to be able to do this intense genetic work. And we're going to be doing it all year long. And you're actually going to be working on freeing each one of your ancestors genetically throughout the year. And as you free them, guess what? You're freeing yourself. You heal 7 generations forward, 7 back, and exponentially increase that with every ancestor that you work on healing. When we talk about living our soul purpose, it goes back to being a maverick, right? We're all these mavericks outside of the box. And so as you break free of your genetics, you may find yourself even more out of alignment with your family You might also find a really cool thing where some of your family actually starts to open up too. And you start to all do it together, and suddenly everybody is healing and changing and growing and shifting in their dynamics. So again, our focus for 2020 is to break through these genetic structures so that we can be here to do what we're meant to do, because there's no more time left. We have to be here now. We have to do what we are meant to do. And so I want you to take a minute and close your eyes again and take a nice deep breath. Put your palms on your lap. And at this time, I ask all of our ancestors, teachers, guides, saints, siddhas, gurus, to come into our space and into our community as genetic transformers on this call. I ask for each and every one of our lineages to stand up for us. And I'd like each one of you on this call, with as little disturbance to your energy field as possible, to write down who's showing up, what's coming up, what's happening. And take notes. Carol, your mom is coming through so strong for you right now. You are this caretaker of the spirit, your mom says. And it is time for you to invest in healing yourself. And you've been challenged. And you're accepting the challenge and you're starting to move through it. Pamela, I get a message from what I think is a grandfather. It's a male energy, older male energy. And he's saying, it is time for you to break free from the women in your family and the patterns that have gone on and on and on. He's saying 6 generations back, this has been a pattern. It's time to break free of that. It's time to move past that. Jade, I feel a male energy for you, and I can't tell if this is an ancestor or a spirit guide because he feels very shamanic to me, but he's talking about you're standing on this stage and there's hundreds of people in front of you and you're speaking to these people. You are going to exponentially reach many, 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 many people, and starting in 2020 and beyond. Your message is going to transform people's lives. Sherry, I get a message for you, and I actually think this is from your cousin, to be honest, because I feel like he's very fresh and the energy feels new. But Sherry, his message for you is you keep holding yourself back. You're the one that's tripping yourself up physically. You're trying to protect yourself from being successful, and it's time to step into your power. And he says, don't give up. Janae, I feel this female energy around you, which I also think is like a grandmother or great grandmother, because she's showing herself, showing me the grandma symbol, but it could be, it feels more like a great grandmother, but I feel this beautiful feminine female light, and she shows like this spotlight on you. You've never wanted it, but the spotlight's going to be on you and you can't stop it. So like jump on the speeding train, man. Take a deep breath in and ask yourself, what am I creating from my genetics? What am I creating from my lineage? What am I creating as a human being in this body with this life experience? Together, we're a community of genetic transformers. So you think of the Transformers, you know, those like cars that turn into those beings or whatever. And really, if you watch Transformers, they're actually very spiritual, and they come from this special place, and it's like a whole thing. And so it's kind of a crazy thing in some ways, because it's very representative of what we are. We are genetic transformers. Our genetics are not our destiny. You hear that in epigenetics. The epigenetics movement is happening because science is proving that our genetics is not our destiny, but our genetics continue to be our life experience for as long as we choose to not understand it. So as a genetic transformer and a present day shaman, it is our jobs to figure out what our genetics are doing, what our physical body is doing, and what our soul is doing, and line them up. Because if we're having difficulty with our health or our emotions or our life experience, it's because we aren't in alignment with our path as a spiritual being. And so think about that. Like, you're here to transform molecules. You're a present day shaman. You're here to retrieve your soul fragments. You're here to come to a place of present moment awareness and self-realization. But it has to start now, and it has to start by us facing what it is we need to face and doing the work that we need to do to come to understand who we are. And step one is really understanding where we come from by understanding your lineage and your ancestors. And it also comes from starting to understand what our soul purpose is. So with that said, before I go on and on and on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute all of you guys. I would really like to have an open, organic conversation about all of this stuff. If you have questions, thoughts, what's coming up for you, I really want us to share, because we're the beginning of this community. We are a community of genetic transformers, and we are here to like get the ball rolling. So I'm going to unmute you. Hold on here. Click this. Okay. So what do you guys want to share? You're all unmuted. We should be able to hear each other. Not all at once.
I have a question about, I know very little about my lineage. Through time, my family, as they've dropped away, pictures have disappeared. I'm not quite sure exactly where to start.
So here is where I would start. Do you have like an altar or a puja or a sacred space in your home where you meditate or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. So I would write down on a piece of paper, because writing, when you physically write something, it puts the energy out into the universe as a contract, and it's filed in your Akashic records in your book of life. So it's really important, you guys, as you write all this stuff down, it's being saved. I would write this. I choose at this time to create an opening for my ancestors to step forward and reveal themselves to me. And that's all I write. And I put it on your altar. You can light a candle, you could create a ritual around it, you could do whatever you want with that. But that's what I would write down, because when you choose from that place of free will and create an opening, those words are really powerful, because it tells your lineage, hi, you guys can show up and start to come. And then you got to pay attention to the signs and the synchronicity. You may, in fact, may hear, talk to one of your family members who are living and suddenly find something out, or you may just receive knowing or information from the other side. You might see certain animals, animal totems, those kinds of things. So I would really, you got to put it out there that you want to bring them in. And whatever you do have of your lineage, I would put it on that altar. So if you have a picture of your parents, if you have even their names, like if you can write down their names, that's pretty potent. That opens up a lot of energy. I went through and got information from my mom, and it took some research, but I wrote down all 7 generations of women, their full names and their birth date and their death date on a piece of paper, and had that on my altar for almost a year and a half, just working through their energy. So even if you just have names and you can write those down, that would be a place to start also.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, because we don't always have pictures or connection. And even when you do, I think there's all sorts of stuff we just don't know.
Right.
What else? Who else wants to share or has questions or comments?
Hey, Lisa, it's Janet. And so this is just quite timely for me. Partly because I am
Uh-oh, did I lose you? I think I lost you, Janet. Are you there? Uh-oh. I think we lost Janet on her phone. Hopefully she'll come back. Who else wants to share while we're waiting for Janet to find her way back here?
I have kind of taken me that were requiring me to sacrifice so much of my health.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Maybe that helps.
Yes, that helps. Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yay. So I don't know where I cut off, but
Pretty much at the beginning. So you can go
okay.
ahead.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I've been struggling with, I've had a calling for most of my life, and being able to, I feel like it's taken me as far as it can right now, because it was requiring so much sacrifice, and that just doesn't resonate with me anymore, that sacrifice. And so this is very, very timely for me, because I've been really connecting to my Mexican roots and the roots of healing that are there, and especially with my grandparents and whatnot, as they are facing their end of life. So this is just quite timely for me right now, and helps me figure out what is the next step.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, even it's kind of amazing how the spirit world really does know when it's time to step up and get people focused. And that's exactly what happened with this information. It's like, this is it. Like, it's all the work we've all been doing, but it's the next step of the work. Who else wants to share or has questions or anything? Everybody's quiet. Anyone? Thoughts?
I feel like
Hey,
everyone.
Lisa. Oh, go ahead.
So I guess my share might be out of nowhere, but I felt a lot of anxiety with this call, actually, just like bubbling up. And I think this is so powerful, and loved listening to all this and feeling it as well. And I found myself having to remind myself at one point that I'm safe. So I don't know if that happened for anybody else, but I literally had to like kind of self-soothe of like, it's safe.
I'm glad.
It's safe to show up.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that, because when you open up the ancestry box, you guys, and I've kind of been living in it all these years doing medium work, but when you open it up, you're opening up, like, imagine everything our world has gone through since the beginning of time, you guys. Wars and fear and growth, and everything's been so fast moving for so long. And so that anxiety, I think there's probably individual levels of it too, but I'm so glad you brought that up, Janae, because I feel that there's a huge amount of panic and fear around the healers in our past that are like, oh my God, like I want everybody to be protected. And I feel like it bubbles up like this, like, whoa. Plus, it's pretty scary to do your life purpose. Like, it's pretty scary to step up and say, this is who I am, and I'm not going to be afraid of it anymore. For all of us, I think.
When you were talking about physical symptoms, bubbling up, I've been having a very, very intense ringing in my ears, like unexplainably.
Wow.
Can that be something that I'm trying to ascend beyond, or?
Absolutely. So the ear ringing is so many things. So, back in the day, in the metaphysical community, I'd say a decade ago, ears ringing was like a spirit guide or an angel trying to get you a message.
Mhm.
It's my experience in this day and age, when your ears start ringing,
Mhm.
your vibration is truly shifting, and there's something happening within your senses that's shifting to open to new information. So it's a pretty strong and normal ascension symptom. But it truly is about, if your ears are ringing, my advice would be to spend some time today thinking about like what's trying to come through. What else do I need to hear? Because something is changing for you with your what is it called? Clairaudience. I had a brain fart. I'm like, what's it called? Your clairaudience, which is hearing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would pay attention to that. They're trying to get your attention for sure.
Okay.
I have something I just add to that too, because I have tinnitus and I've had it for 3 years now, with the severe ringing in my left ear in particular. And now I have a pulsing also that goes along with it. So it's taken a lot to not pay attention to it too much. However, sometimes when it gets too bad, I'll just ask the angels to lower the vibration a bit so that I can handle it. And that seems to help. And I also was listening in on a webinar about ascension as well, with someone that channels the intergalactic realms, if you will. And in her meditations and chanting, it's all intergalactic language, which at first really like stunned me. But when I got off the one call, which is just my introductory basically to this, my tinnitus, that ringing was gone for the night. And it was like there was some message or something that whatever the ringing was that was going on for me was responding to whatever this intergalactic languages are of the beings out there trying to communicate with us. So it's really kind of reinforced for me to just kind of pay attention to it, I guess. Not that I don't like it so much, because it is annoying, especially at night when you're, it's quiet in the house. But it's just really been interesting for me to have that additional perspective on it too. So.
Thank you, Carol. That's so great to share. Yeah, tinnitus is a thing, isn't it, for spiritual workers? So we get it. I get a low bass vibrating in my ears when I change. So for 5 days last week, I could barely sleep because my vibration was pulsing in my ears.
Yep.
Sounds like you got the pulsing now too, Carol.
Oh yeah, plus the buzz.
Yeah. And it finally stopped yesterday, so I was like, thank God. But yeah, it's definitely, thank you for sharing that, because one thing that you brought to mind, Carol, when you're talking about intergalactic beings, is we talked at the beginning of the call about Arcturians. Arcturians is an alien being that works directly with Melchizedek and Metatron, which is a big part of my energy field. So I would highly recommend looking at Arcturians, especially if you're having that ringing. So for you, Carol, and for Jake as well.
Thanks.
What else, guys? Any other thoughts, questions, or comments today about today? Well, so here's what's next. This is what I want to share with you. What's next, okay? Because it's like, now what do we do? Okay, so first off, you can access the video of this if you want to take your notes or get reconnected. You can access it through the Zoom info. There'll be replay. There's also going to be a video replay available long-term on the Enlightenment Pi Living platform. So you'll be able to get this information. Second thing is, the channeled message, the trans-channeled message I received is going to come out in your emails this afternoon. It should be out about 1 o'clock, and you'll be able to read through that and take in even more of what we just talked about today. The other thing that's next is expect that we do more of these calls. This is our genetic transformer shaman community. And so stay tuned, because there'll be more of these calls and more of this information coming out. Your homework assignment is to keep working on the self-inquiry for your soul purpose, and also to start digging into your ancestors. And I want to remind you that you absolutely can share with me. Just please do it via email at lisa@enlightenmentpie.org. Again, texting's fine, but it's so hard for me to get back to everyone that way, because it's hard to text. I channel and write on my computer, so it's easier for me to have it via email. But I'd love to hear your updates and what you're uncovering, so we can stay connected and continue to grow. Things are going to look the same and yet very different for me from now through going forward, in the sense that my work is much more focused with the genetic piece. A lot of you know that I'm practicing Ayurveda, so I'll be able to help you with your health from a purely health perspective. But everything I'm going to do, from the gong baths to my small group readings to your individual work with me, is going to be focused on your soul purpose and your ancestry, and really stepping into our place of power. I really feel that there cannot be enough psychics and healers and mediums and shamans and yogis on this planet. And so it's up to us to really keep working together, to keep growing, to keep pushing ourselves to grow, and to keep moving in the right direction. I just want you guys to keep that in mind. And then last but not least, this is totally a solicitation, so I apologize, but I do want to let you guys know, if you want to join the Enlightenment Pie Living platform and you aren't on it yet, you can use the code BREAKFREE. You get your first month for only $11. That's in honor of the 11/11 call today and the work that we're doing. And you can access since September, so you'll be able to access the Tarot course that is started on there, and the different self-inquiry practices. If you want to catch up on the self-inquiry and meditation, that's going to be the place to do it as well. And I'll be getting out free content and other things too. So the journey continues. Like, here we go. Like, we're going and we're breaking out of our genetics and we're moving forward, and we're going to live the life that we came here to live. And I truly believe that all of us are leaders in that, which is why I brought us together. So thank you guys so much for being on this call, for being in my community, and just stay tuned. Like, more to come, and please share with me anything you want to share, you guys. You have just an amazing day. Like, thank you guys so much. Om.